Hey all. Um, this is the class is going to be about teas, and it's going to be a little bit different than what you're probably used to, because normally you can get like a definitive recipe as it relates to things that are made. Even if it's something that kind of has a base like a cake, you can then change it. But the weird thing about teas, and you're going to learn that throughout this class with the different handouts and things, is that there's really not a base recipe that can be used for tea, because it's subjective to people's personal taste and how it relates to the three notes that are required for a good tea. So first of all, for those of you who have the kit, I want to make sure everybody has everything that they need. Okay. I'm going to set these, they threw this in. This is kind of a fun little, this is the herb cards that they did this year. These are really cool. I'm going to set these to the side so I don't get them messed up. You should have 4 large containers. Okay, let's get those out. One is lemon balm, one is the hops cones, one is anise hyssop flowers, and the other one should be peppermint. Okay, just making sure I have them right. And then you should have 7 small ones. So brown sugar, calendula. There should also be espresso powder in here, caramel and cloves, chamomile. Try to see what else is in here. Cinnamon. Oh, and the rosemary. So I think I'm missing. Where's my espresso powder? There we go. All right, so I'm going to line those up there, set those there. I will have you pull the one you need when we get ready to do a particular tea. Okay. And then, of course, you have your tea bags, which we will need. And then in the bag, we actually have white tea. Okay. All right. And then we have the papers, and we'll just set those to the side for a minute. All right. Also on your bag, you should have had a little green card that said, these are the additional items that you need. The first thing we had there were the teaspoons. So these are the ones that we normally use when we're doing the tea. These are like buck at Walmart. They do tend to, I will say though, the what it is rubs off. So then we kind of write on them with a Sharpie marker, because as you wash them up afterwards, those tend to rub off. But you don't need anything fancy for a teaspoon, but you do need to make sure you have a tablespoon, a half a tablespoon, a teaspoon, a half a teaspoon, and of course the 1/4 teaspoon. All right. The other item we had down there was a microwavable mug. This is the one I use every morning when I make my tea. It's nice and solid. You're not going to want a teacup. You really want a mug. Okay. And then you need something that you can set on top of it. Now, believe it or not, this didn't come with a fancy schmancy, matching saucer. This is the plate I use. So they don't need to go. You just need to have something that you can set on top, and we'll explain why. I didn't have this on the list, but I have a towel, because when I'm making my tea in the morning, I'm out in our candy shop and we keep it at 66 degrees or colder year round. And the table that I have it sitting on is kind of cool. So I just set that so that it's on there. Doesn't get my tea cooled off too fast. And if I make a mess and spill it, I got something to wipe it up with. And then you need 2 spoons. Okay, you'll see why in a bit. All right. So other than that, we'll set this aside and let's get started. All right. Okay. So when you're wanting to make tea, you need to understand the 6 different types of teas that exist. And that is on this sheet right here. So we think when we make teas for Wertheim's Gardens that the tea is not the star of the show. The herbs are. So we want to make sure that we are using a tea base that allows the herbs to shine. Okay. So we've always used white tea. We will always use white tea. If you look at your sheet, you'll see white tea is the farthest on the left, and it goes all the way over to the Pu'er tea. That is based not only on what is done to the tea leaves, but also based on the flavor of the tea leaves. So when you stop and think about coffee. You can have a mild coffee, or you can have a really strong coffee to the point. Puer, it'd be like that one where the spoon will stand up on its own kind of coffee type of thing. We do the white tea because it's very similar to how we treat our herbs. It's picked, it's allowed to wither, dry, and then they package it up. Nothing else is done to it. And if you look at the list, you'll see, even though green tea is next, there's an addition that's added to it that ferments it, and on down the line. Now, some people say, oh, but I want the puer because, ooh, it's so fancy and schmancy. Okay, happy for you. But let me tell you, it's very, very pungent. So you're thinking, what does that mean, pungent? I like to correlate it to blue cheese. So if you have a gorgonzola cheese, that's like on the left side where the white tea is. It's very mild flavor. You kind of get a hint of some of that, moldiness in it, that blue cheese effect, but it's not going to be a great turnoff. It's just there to add a little extra to whatever you're cooking with. On the other end, if you had a Stilton blue cheese, it's in your face. You're eating something rotted and it's gross. It was my dad's favorite. But one extreme to the other. White tea to puer. So you're welcome, because it's all about personal taste when you do your own teas. You're welcome to choose anything that is here. I just want you to be aware that the only pure tea leaf without any fancy schmancy things added to it to change the flavor is the white tea. And we always want our herbs to stand out. The other thing is, and I get this a lot, is how much caffeine is in your teas? Well, we have minimal caffeine in there. Now, if you want zero caffeine, you have to make an herb tea with zero tea in it. So if you want a chamomile rosemary tea and you make it, it has absolutely no caffeine at all. But I'm going to be real honest. If you do a rosemary chamomile tea and you're looking for that like tea color, it's not. It's going to, sorry, but it looks like urine. It's like this weird, funky yellow. So we add the white tea, not only so people don't come back and go, oh, this was gross, I didn't want to drink it, it just looks so horrible, but also it adds a good base, which the base is what you call one of your notes. There's 3 notes that go into a tea. So we'll get to those second. But if you look at the scale down here, a regular cup of coffee, nothing added, nothing done, like just middle of the road tea, nothing fancy schmancy, is going to have 135 milligrams of caffeine per cup. But oh, I drink green tea because it's the best for you and it has no caffeine and yada yada yada. Well, if we look at the chart, you actually find out that green tea actually has 20 milligrams versus the white tea, which only has 10. We're not there to caffeinate everybody. Again, we're using it as a base to highlight the herbs. And decaf tea, I'm not really sure how they go, oh, it's decaf versus the other. What I found is it's very similar to, like, if you use flour and the more you work the flour when you're making bread, the more gluten is developed. The same thing with the tea. The more the tea is messed with, things are added to it, it's cooked, it's dried, it's allowed to rot and mold and ferment. The more you do that, the higher the caffeine level goes. So, just kind of a purist. It's all about the herbs. All right. So, if we look at that, let me see what I got here. I'm going to make sure I want to go the right way with this. All right. Okay. All right, so for those of you who have the kits, what I want you to do right now, I want you to pull your hops, I want you to pull your peppermint, and I want you to pull your white tea. Okay, we're going to set those 3 right there. 3 notes for a tea. Your first note of your tea is the base. And this is when you put together a tea mixture. What does it smell like? Whether it's in the tea bag, whether it's when you've just brewed it up, but you haven't drank it yet. What is that smell? What is that flavor profile coming to you? That's the first note. That's the base, and that's what you're building off of. The second note is where everybody's tea goes haywire. Mine does, everybody does. You're like, oh, but I got a tea off the internet. It's a recipe. They already went through this whole horrific process of trying to figure out the right formula, the right mixture. So when we're making a tea, I think I've got it, with the exception of this one tea I'll talk about later, that's just like the bane of my existence. But I can usually get a new tea in 3 to 5 tries. But where I fail every time when I start out is on that second note. And that's when you're taking that drink of that tea. What does it taste like? More often than not, when it's not right, it tastes like kind of a water. If you were like drinking a Coke that's lost all of its fizz and everything else, it's just kind of flat. There's no flavor. It's just kind of bleh, just there. That's what happens with tea on that second note. If you don't have the right mixture, the right combination, you don't taste all of that. It's like a full round abundance. It's just watery. You might get a little, say you peppermint, you might have a little bit in there, or you might have, like chamomile, but it's just watery, and the water overpowers everything. And then the third note is, what are you left with after you swallow that tea? Does it give you a fresh feeling? Is it a hint of what was there? Or is it just a nice clean flavor? So you got to have those 3 different notes. The base that we always use for all of our teas is our white tea, and we do a half a tablespoon. Now, some teas want a full tablespoon. It all depends on what you're going for. We do use a full tablespoon with one of our fall teas because there's a lot of flavors in there and we need a strong foundation. Like you're building a house, a strong foundation. But for the tea we're going to start with first, it's our bedtime brew tea. Some people liken it to a, what's the tea that where you go to sleep? Sleepy time tea. It is not that. Sleepy time tea relaxes you, makes you sleepy, helps you rest. Bedtime brew does not make you tired, does not make you sleepy. But you will have, when you wake up, you will be so rested. So I'm going to walk you through how to do it. And then I have a funny story because we sell 10 bags of 7 bags in a bag every other month, and it gets shipped to Utah. So, all right. So these are the tea bags that we use because we have some of our teas have a lot of quantities in them. Now I know the Common Ground here does sell tea bags. I don't know what they had, but I made them use mine today because I know what goes into this and it fits correctly. Okay. So we're going to open it up. Give it a little quick. We are going to take our half a tablespoon. I'm going to get my little tea here. It looks like, oh, there's not enough in here. There's plenty for what we're doing today. Level. You always want to make sure your measurements are level. Boy, does it make a difference if you did like a heaping teaspoon and it should have been level. It really does mess up the formula. Okay, I'm going to throw that in there. All right, now for your hops. Some of you have 2 giant hops cones in here. Some of you might have 3, some of you might have 4. And it's just based on the size when we were putting them together. So we use Comet is our hops that we grow. And then we also have a hops that we have that my grandfather grew in the 1920s. He wasn't big on prohibition. So anyway, I'm going to I have 4 in here. Good. Okay. So I have my 4. I'm going to get these out here so you can see them. So I'm going to make sure that I have this little one here and I have one there. Let's move that so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I want them to be equal size, okay? Just so you have an idea. All right, I'm going to put these 2, which is equal to about him or him, into my bag. All right? Don't crush them. Throw those back in there. Now, if you're interested, I did include this just for your own quirks. If you wanted to grow your own hops, you can. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. It's not invasive, but you're never going to get rid of it unless you grow it in a pot because they said to last 20 to 25 years. But remember, I just said my grandfather grew hops back in the 1920s. These things grow and are still growing from back then. They will grow over a foot a day. We measure it every year. It's kind of a phenomenon on our website. I mean, on our Facebook page. We'll show like, here's today. We go out the next morning, same time. It can grow up to a foot plus a day. They will grow up between 22 and 30 feet in a summer. You then cut it back at the end of the season, but it's a rhizome, which means it's a root. And it has lots of little things that come off of it that grow everywhere, all these vines and everything else. If you dig it up, like horseradish, but horrifically god awful worse than horseradish, every tiny little cut and everything else is a brand new branch that's going to come off of it. And it just grows horribly. Now you're like, oh, I'm not going to have anything to grow it up. You can have a trellis and have it grow up, kind of wind it, but it prefers to grow up a singular pole. We use twine, and it grows 20 feet up to the air. They grow clockwise. So you kind of just wind them around, don't break the tip, and it'll grow up a foot a day. So I included for you, because some people are looking for a particular flavor profile, is the brewing classic styles. So within the hops arena, it's understood, it's very similar, like your color wheel here. This is a flavor wheel. These are the different types of hops varieties that you can purchase and where they fall on the flavor profile wheel. So for example, the cluster is in the spicy area. Within the citrus, you have Cascade, which almost, you hear people talk about hops. Oh, I grow Cascade. Okay, everybody wants something kind of fruity, that type of thing. We grow Comet, which is kind of in between citrus and kind of fruit. I'm not even sure if it's even on here. I'm looking at this without my glasses on. That's always silly when I do that kind of thing. But that is what we grow. And then we also have the Wilmette, which is between the spicy floral. And I use that in our orange pico tea. But if you're wanting to grow it, consider this and what the flavor profile you are looking for. There we go. The other thing is the leaves are not where the flavor comes from. If you look inside the cones that you have there, there's some yellow dusting. That's the alpha acids, and that is where the flavor comes from. So, and you'll have these, you'll pick them, and if you look in the bottom of your cups, if you have these, you'll see some yellow dusting, a little orange dusting down there. That is the alpha acids that are coming free. Yes. Is there a question? Okay.
We have a couple questions.
Sure.
First, this question on what are the bags made of?
Oh.
The tops we need for this bedtime room.
You're going to use one cone. If you have two cones, use one. If you have three cones, that means you had one that was kind of big and two were smaller. Either use the one big or the two smaller. I had four, so I took two of them and I put it in here. But you just want a large cone, one large cone.
How many inches?
Okay. Comet will grow up to 4 inches. They're huge. But if you're getting them and they're only like an inch long, because it'll take really like 4 or 5 years to truly develop a really strong vine. Actually, they call them vines with a B because they bind up. This little vine binds. You're going to have like 1 inch cones for the first 2, 3, 4 years, and then they'll get to a good size. But if you have 1 inch cones, use two. Now, here's your PSA for the day. There is that new invasive lantern fly. It is drawn to hops and some of the other specialty crops. But we actually have we were on vigil all summer because they're extremely drawn to hops, and we have a large hops field. And so we were out there every day checking. If you grow hops, even in your backyard, please, please, please check them at least every other day. Look for leaves eggs under the leaves. Look for any of the caterpillars, any of the moths that are coming out. Make sure if you get them, report them immediately, and you need to crush them and remove them. They're extremely invasive. They are extremely damaging to crops. if your hops gets invaded, and they kind of tend to draw Japanese beetles. If, say, for example, the Japanese beetle got on there and you're like, oh, I'm going to get something and I'm going to take care of them, you have to take care of them that day because they will eat all the leaves and then you will have no produce at all. You will have nothing that happens. This summer, I mean, we check up every day, up and down the rows. We're looking at the leaves and everything else. We had no Japanese beetles. We had 5 days of rain. It was awesome. We didn't have any rain for like another 37 days, but we had 5 days of rain. So I wasn't getting out there and looking. I'm like, Japanese beetle aren't going to get on there. It's raining. By the time I got out there, we had lost 3 of our 100-foot rows of hops. We didn't get anything off of them. If there's no leaves, they're not going to produce the cones. It was awful, just awful. We didn't have any lantern flies, but we're watching them really close. We do know some friends of ours who have a big hops field. They're down in Southern Illinois, and it pretty much wiped the whole thing out. So they came in with massive pesticides to kill them and everything else. They're very invasive, and it's just a bad thing. So PSA side, let's go back to fun. Okay. My preachy moment for a minute, but man, they're just not good. All right.
Say the sachets are called.
Yes, they are. These are an organic cotton. They're perfectly capable of being put into your recycle bin. Also, with the size we do, you can do your tea at least twice. So when you're done, save it and you can reuse it at least twice. We do have some folks say they do the tea 3 times. I like my tea a little stronger, so yeah. All right, and then we have one more ingredient to throw in there, and that's going to be our peppermint. Now, our peppermint, you're going to see the leaves in there, okay? And this is completely subjective. Don't put them all in. But you want to take, I usually take, I would say that's probably 1, 2, probably 4, 5, 6 leaves. And that's what I put in there. Don't crush them. In they go. There we go. Save the ones we didn't use. All right, throw those back in there. We'll put this lid on because I'm notorious for knocking things over. All right. Now, this bag, you're going to hold the string in your left hand, even if you're left-handed. You're going to take your right hand. You're going to hold the tea bag right there at the edge of the string, and you're going to pull the string towards you, and it will close it like that. If you pull it the opposite way, it'll rip the top of it off. If you don't do it that way, it'll strip it completely. I've done it lots. Okay. All right. So this is your bedtime brew. So what you can do if you want to write along the edge, like bedtime brew or something like that, or put a 1 here, you can. So we're going to set this one to the side. Okay. That's it. So simple. You would think it would be simple, like making tea, but it took us a while to get to there. All right. Okay. So let's look at some of the next things we're going to do here. All right. If you look at for the top herbs for teas, we grow all of these and then a plethora of some, but these are different flavor profiles that you can have in your teas. All right. One of the tea that I drink every morning without fail is I call it top of the morning tea, because it's the first thing that gets me up, get going in the morning. Okay. And I am not a black licorice fan. You could find out a lot of stuff I don't like here. I am not a black licorice fan, but I love anise hyssop. It smells amazing. It tastes really good in lasagna. That's another whole segment, I know, but it's really wonderful in a tea. What I didn't include on here, because I don't have an MD. I am 1 class away from being a certified herbalist, but I do not have an MD. I did not put on here what some of these herbs can do psychologically or medicinally. So, for example, everybody knows chamomile helps chill you out. Rosemary is great for memory. Anise hyssop is really good for kind of like a cleanse, help clean, help flush out your kidneys and things like that. I will say I was having not kidney problems per se, but every once in a while I'll wake up and my right side was hurting. So I'm like, gosh, what kind of tea could I make? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this particular kind of tea using anise hyssop. If I go 2 or 3 days without drinking this tea, here's my like personal testament. I know that it starts to hurt. And I went almost a week. I was out of hyssop. Oh my God, I was out of hyssop. I was out of anise hyssop. I was like, I only had fresh. And I'm like, I don't like to do teas with fresh and stuff. So I picked some and it was drying. It was over a week. I kid you not. Both sides back here were hurting in your kidney area. My back was hurting. It was so bad. And I went and got some fresh and I brewed it up and I had it. And within like 2 hours, I was feeling so much better. I'm just like, wow, okay. Got to believe it. So anyway, so let's make our top of the morning tea for those of you who have the kits. If those of you who don't, you can take the notes down. You can also, back to the bedtime brew, you can buy pops in places, but if you do, make sure you buy the full tones, okay? Don't buy the crushed leaves and things like that, because a lot of that alpha acids have gotten out of there, and that's actually what helps with having a really good sleep. And I still owe you the sleep story. So, all right, so with my recipes are in here. When I die, I told everybody, when I die, you need to grab this because it has all of our candy recipes in there, has all of our gardening recipes in there. But this one I have every morning, so I know it. So right off the bat, our base is going to be
the notes that you just referenced.
Uh-huh.
Do you have those available?
Uh-huh. At top herbs for tea.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. And I will tell you on the second page, which will be important here in a minute, we talk about other flavors to consider. And I'll explain how we use those, why we use those, and what quantities you should consider doing or not doing. Okay. But let's make this tea here. Yes.
Question, is hyssop the same herb as licorice root?
No. And anise hyssop is not the same as hyssop. Hyssop is in the mint family. Anise hyssop is a whole different granimal. So the anise hyssop that I provided for you, I gave you the blooms, okay? Whereas anise hyssop, oh my gosh, it smells amazing. We don't use it in tea. Usually we use it in our lotions. But this is, y'all got me thrown off. Base of your tea, half a tablespoon. Let's get that in there. All right. Now, we are going to take one of the blooms and rub it in there. This is so technical. I amused myself. Put a lid back on there. All right. Now we're going to grab that peppermint. And you're going to grab yourself your 4 or 5 tea leaves in there and toss it in. So the half a tablespoon of the tea, the 1 bloom of anise hyssop, and then toss in some peppermint. Right? Finger, string, pull. There we go. I know they're laughing here because it's so technical. All right. Okay. So I'm going to get out my recipe because even though I developed all of these, and some of them took me a few tries, some of them took me a lot of tries. And we do have some of our notes in here so you can kind of see how we've done things. This is one we have kids camps in the summer. And this is one of the ones where they were making teas. Try 1, try 2, try 3. Anyway. All right. We're going to make the fall harvest tea this time. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab. Yes.
The kids who need to show them your top notes. Can we take just a quick pause?
Yeah.
Scroll.
These?
Yeah. Sure. Discuss a couple of notes from it. That way we'll have a printout in front of them.
Sure. Which you want me to go through them and which ones are good, really good, which ones I like, which ones I don't like?
And then
Which ones I really don't like.
We're going to take a minute and we're just going to go through that resource that Amy provided because some of you did not get kits. Really reference it. It's really awesome. We will have a better discussion of maybe some locations where you could get these herbs towards the end of the class.
Yeah.
So I just want to hold off some of those questions about where to buy these items in the future because we will discuss that in the class. But yeah, let's take a moment and let's talk about that awesome resource that Amy, I don't even think you know how amazing that is. And just give me half a second to pull it up.
Okay. So on this list, what I included was, so I have the herb and then I have the flavor profile. So it's always nice to know what you potentially will get for your flavor, because some of them are kind of deceiving in what you think they would be. And then I have what part of it you would use for the tea. So with the anise hyssop, it does have like a licorice lemon minty kind of flavor. And you will use the leaves and the flowers. And I provided for the kids, we use the flower heads. Okay. Basil, I know, who would have thought good for tea, but I'm going to tell you what, lemon basil off the flipping charts. And what's really cool is because your lemon basil, it goes to flower like instantaneously, which is ungodly annoying. And you have to be out there every other day picking all the leaves off. Well, when you get tired of doing that, like, mid-August, go ahead and let it go to seed in the flowers because those flowers are perfectly acceptable to use in the tea. So go ahead and whack them all off, throw them on a tray, let them dry, then strip it off, and you can use the flowers with the leaves too. So lemon basil is awesome. We have a basil, pesto basil. I just started playing with that one. Oh my God. Oh, I think did we just disappear? I'm going to say, I saw it do like a little thing in the screen. Whoop. All right. Okay. I'm like, wait, where'd it go? One must always be amused with oneself. So the pesto basil is making, I combined it with our Thai basil. We're working on making like a chai tea without it really being a chai tea. So it's kind of like an Asian tea. I'm almost there. So I'm on I think number 7 or 8 right now. I'm like within like 1 or 2 of getting, and you'll understand the whole try thing in just a bit. Bay laurel, we kind of use that sometimes. It's a bitter, sharp flavor. If you do espresso powder, you can do the same thing we're doing here to make coffees too. And bay with espresso powder is really, really good. All right. Bee balm, the flowers and the leaves. Kind of skip through some ones that are, so people don't think of calendula as a tea base. We use calendula in everything. That is our sunshine blossom tea. If you're not going to make our top of the morning tea, a real good morning tea that just kind of uplifts you is the tea that we make with our calendula, the sunshine blossom tea. Calendula is really good for just healing the bruises. If you make the salves or rubs or anything like that. But I swear you have it inside of you and just kind of heals and makes you feel all warm and fuzzy too. Catnip, not a fan. When we say it has a pungent odor, it smells like skunk. I don't have any other way to do it. You have to put it with something else to counteract that. And we usually put it with mint. We use mint with a lot of. And keep in mind, peppermint, experiment with your mint leaves. I mean, there's a plethora. I mean, you have like apple mint, chocolate mint, that type of thing. The mint is not strong like you're eating like a peppermint patty. But the more mint leaves you use, so if you use just a massive handful with that tea, you kind of get a little tingling from the mint and gives a little bit of numbing. It's kind of fun. I'm advocating numbness here. Let's see. Horehound will be bitter. You have to team it with something else. Lemongrass, lemon balm, lemon thyme. You're looking for like a lemon tea type of flavor. Let's see. Oh, blackberry and raspberry leaves are amazing this spring. Be careful if you pick them. You don't want to pick too many because you want the fruit to produce. Kind of like with the hops. If all the leaves are wiped out, you're not getting a crop. The thing that I left off of here, and really Kelly should have called me on this, is the spruce tips. So Kelly came over in the spring and we picked a bunch of spruce tips. We went back out, we picked another 60 pounds of spruce tips because, we could. They have a lemon flavor. So we have combined it with our lemon balm and we combined it with our lemon balm tangerine flavor. And my gosh, we threw a clove in there too. Yay, yum. Don't have a name yet. I don't know what we're going to do with it. And then under other flavors to consider, these are kind of the ones that we use to enhance or pop a flavor. For those of you going, I don't like coffee, I'm not using espresso powder. You need to use espresso powder sometimes because it pops the flavor. Like when you're doing a chocolate cake, throw in a little bit of espresso or coffee that you cooked up, pops the flavor. You're not going to taste the coffee. The way we use the espresso powder is minimal. It just pops the flavor. If you get too many things like cinnamon, espresso, pumpkin spice in it, you have to be careful and you got to make sure you squeeze out the tea bags because it can't penetrate the lining of the tea bags. So if you just take it out and you wind it with your string, it's not going to work. All right. Dried orange, lemon, or lime peel. The hot water hits them and you steam it, it allows those flavors to come through. So we use dried orange peel and dried lemon peel in our orange pico tea. Good gravy. Those are just like some serious like tongue twisters. All right. But you know what? And it took me a little bit to figure it out because I'm like, I'm not getting that pop of flavor. And when we added the lemon peel that we dried, that's what popped it. Even though we had that kind of a lemon flavor in there, we were missing over here. So it just wasn't working. Anyway, you got to play with stuff. All right. Okay. So we're going to do our fall harvest. Here's what I want you to pull. I want you to pull. Oh, shoot. Sorry. That's on me. I have that because the one time I did not answer a phone call from my son, he was in a car accident. All right, so there's a way to do this. How do I do this? I'm not a dumb person, but I am definitely, what do you call it? Challenge, sound challenged. I know how to do this. No, I don't. All right, we'll assume there was your amusement for the day. There's a way that you can do it to make it have like the ringer. I don't know. Bless you all that you can do it. Well, okay. All right. So brown sugar. We need our brown sugar. We need our chamomile. If I could read my writing. Lemon balm. All right. Scoot everybody down. Please go away. We need our clove out of the clove and caramel. Don't eat your caramel. Not yet. All right. Get our little cloves out here. And of course, our tea. Grab a tea bag. Open your tea bag. Do not start with the white tea as your base. So you know how you do crock pots or like bread makers and you have to put things in the order? It matters. It really matters. All right. So we're going to do a half a teaspoon of brown sugar. And just like in every recipe that exists out there, you need it to be solid, level. Okay. Throw that puppy in there. All right. We want 1 teaspoon of chamomile. Go. You have extra for a reason. Whee! Set in there, put the lid back on. All right. With our full leaves, you're going to do the same thing that you did before. Grab several leaves out of there, 4, 5, 6 leaves, whatever you think looks appropriate. And that's one of those things that you start, to taste. So the lid back on there. Now we're going to add our 1/2 tablespoon of the tea. That in there. And then we're going to throw in, you should have 1 or 2 cloves in there. We just want 1 of those cloves. So pop that in there, hold it, close it. That's it. All right. Now, before we move on, I like to have a clean workspace. Drives me nuts. All right. So this is your fall harvest. So just like the bedtime brew and the top of the morning, we have the full leaves in there. But this is what I want you to do with this tea bag. I want you to crush it all up like that. Okay? Crush it, crush, 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 crush. All right. Now, for those of you with the mug, we're going to toss it in there, leave this sit out. Okay, I didn't push the little button there. Okay, that's going to heat up really fast. You need to be able to either have like water heating on your stove, or if you have a microwave, you're going to put this in the microwave. So I love this thing. I want this thing. It like instant heat is so freaking cool. And I know. It's like, there we are. So what we want to do, if you have a microwave, you're going to fill this up within like 1/2 digits, water to the top. Okay. And I was going to say my bad, but boy, man, I hate that phrase. If I had not told you, let's heat some, if you don't have a microwave or it's like mine. So here's how this is going to work. If you have a microwave that's under 5 years old, you're going to heat your tea for 2.5 minutes. If you have a microwave like me that's 20 years old and it still works and I'm not getting rid of it, but it doesn't heat efficiently like it should, you're going to do it for 3.5 minutes. I just don't see the reason to replace something until it's like dead. You know, I did. I looked at what they cost. I'm like, wow, they're very proud of them. I like mine. I can add an extra minute. Okay. You're going to fill your mug up until it's 1/4 of an inch to the top. There we go. Well, if you're going to put it in the microwave, if it's a newer microwave, 2.5 minutes. If it's not, do it like 3.5 minutes. You want the puppy boiling. Okay. If it's on your stove, just boil it. And then as soon as you get it boiling, we're going to pour it in here. See, it's already boiled. This is like the coolest contraption ever. I think we should all be gifted one. All right. Now, I'm going to ask you this, though. Do I just pick it up and pour it like from there? Okay. I didn't know if it came off. Oh, it does come off its base. How cool is that? I know you all are like, what is wrong with her? She ever seen a, coffee pot before? That's okay. Not a problem. All right. Okay. After you have zapped it in the microwave, or if you had water boiling on your stove, okay, you're just going to set it down here. I'll grab my little string out just for a sec. Come back here, you little puppy. Thanks for participating. You're going to set this on top. We'll come back to it. Okay. The thing with teas, even if you heat them in the microwave for the 2.5 to 3.5 minutes, when you take it out, you need to cover it, because the steam that is generated by covering that infiltrates and brings out the flavor profile of your herbs. If you just heated the microwave and you squeeze it out and didn't want to steam it and cover it, it doesn't have the same taste. You're just going to get a tea flavor, and it's probably going to be watery. And she's like, we sell this tea. It doesn't taste very good. Well, if you follow the directions, just saying, that it probably would taste completely different. So she made another one. She followed the directions and squeezed it out how we showed her. She's like, well, that's really good. Just throw my hands. Love my mom. She's awesome. But when we started making tea 3 years ago, well, I started making tea because I bought this tea in Savannah, Georgia. It was really yummy. It was not a flavor I would have ever tried. I absolutely abhor all things pumpkin, but it was amazing. But they were very proud of it. I mean, like really, really proud of it. And then they tacked on this amount of shipping, which was practically as proud of the tea as they were. And I'm like, I grow my own herbs. I can make my own tea. This is silly. Why am I paying all this money for tea? So I messed with it. I figured it out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this tastes exactly like it. This is so awesome. I said, you know what? I think we're going to sell tea. And my mom says, who's going to buy tea? Nobody wants tea. Well, we've done over 9,000 tea bags in the last well, we just started our third year. So the last essentially 2 years. So I know, isn't that awesomely crazy great? Every time my mom says, well, who would want to buy fill in the blank, it ends up being a bestseller. So we definitely want to keep her around. She did it with her hot sauce. It was awesome. Who's going to buy hot sauce? 465 pounds of processed peppers later, we were out of hot sauce. She's like, oh, well, we should have grown more. I'm like, really? Anyway, so I digress. But this is how the whole thing with the tea started for us, because she was like, and now we sell oodles of tea. So anyway, so back to, our farmhouse tea, sorry, our fall harvest tea, got tickled. Our fall harvest tea is brewing. Now, this particular tea flavor profile, it's going to sound stupid. Just kind of go with me. If you think of fall in your brain, all the colors and the wonderful smells and everything else, that's what this tea tastes like. So when you drink it, literally you'll think of, oh my gosh, this is fall. That's the only thing I can explain. I know, it sounds dumb. So
And then when they put the tea bag in the water, the microwave.
you want to put the tea bag in the water in the microwave. You want to start the process right then. So tea bag in the cup, in the mug, water, heat. Or if you are doing it like I did, like I brewed it on the oven, tea bag in, hot water in. So if you are pouring hot water over it, not microwaving, minimum 5 minutes. If you're microwaving it when it comes out, then you want to do an additional 2 minutes covered. Okay? Because as it heats up, it starts that process of extraction in the microwave. But when you just blast it with the hot water, it takes a little bit longer for it to come out. All right. Okay. So on to our next one. But a couple more we're going to put together, and then we're going to start the process of how this really works. Okay. All right. Are we okay on time?
Yeah, it's 2:57 right now.
Whoops. All right. We'll get there. Okay. All right. We're going to do what we call our pumpkin caramel delight tea. So you're going to grab your white tea. You're going to grab your cinnamon. You're going to grab your caramel. Little caramel piece, right? You're going to grab your brown sugar. There it is. I have a glare here, that's why. And you're going to grab your espresso powder. All right. So I'm going to jump ahead for a second.
And which one are we making, Rich?
It's called the pumpkin caramel delight. There's nothing pumpkin about it at all. I amuse myself.
We're all going extremely well.
Pumpkin.
Caramel delight. You can call it whatever you want. You really can. So caramel macchiato, I don't know. All right. Before I do that, I'm going to take, mine has been steeping enough. So I'm going to take my plate off. And here's why I have the towel under here. If you look at the bottom, it's wet. So that's why I have the towel, so it doesn't make a mess on my table, theoretically. Now, I have my spoon. Can they see me over here? Okay, good. All right. So I have my spoon, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to wrap the string around once. Oh, look, I got a little bit out. You need to take the other spoon, and I want you to watch. You see all that coming out? That's the tannins. Oh, sorry. You know, one of these days I'll not be like casted forever. So I can get some more out here. When I squeezed it, you'll see all this brown and green flow out. that is the tannins coming from the herbs, and that is the flavor that comes from the herbs. You're not going to get it by just wrapping the string around and kind of, pushing it a little bit. Which way can I go with this? There?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now, you can keep yours for multiple times. I'm not going to. I'm going to take my tea. Oh, see, and that's another reason why you have the towel. Because when you make a mess, wipe off my bottom. I'm going to let it sit there so it can cool for a few minutes. All right. Sorry, let's make, yes, question?
The teas that we're making today be used as infusions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You sure can. Somebody gave me this really cool, it looks like a coffee tall muggish thing, and it's an infusion. And I put it in there, and then I put my hot in there, and I squeeze it down, let it sit for 5 minutes, and you're perfectly good. You absolutely can. I will say though, if you're doing the pumpkin caramel, I wouldn't do that because we are going to use a piece of caramel, and it'll get you it all gunky. Okay, like my technical words, gunky. All right. So for those of you, so for ingredients, so extra spice needed, I lied. You need a knife. Or you can. So what I want you to do, I want you to cut the caramel in half. So you have two options here. You absolutely have to cut it in half, right? But you can save the second piece for playing around in a little bit. Or if you just think, I'm not going to make another caramel tea, you can eat the other half. So there you go. Okay. So we'll cut this in half. Right. Yeah. Right. So two pretty equal pieces there. Okay. All right. All right. So tea bag. Grab a tea bag. Do we shut off again? Oh. Ah. That's okay. All right. Tea, the half a tablespoon of tea on the bottom. Right. And there we go. All right. We're going to do a teaspoon of cinnamon. Seems like a lot, but it's not.
Any recommendation for caramel?
Yeah, RGW. You need to make sure, do not get in trouble. That craft crap. You need to find, I don't know if there's a candy shop here in Champaign, Urbana or not. You really need to find an honest caramel. A lot of the commercial caramels have, if you look at them, they have like 17 to 21 ingredients. Our candy company, RGW Candy, we have 3 ingredients. Our recipes are from 1908. We don't add any preservative flavorings, colorings, any of that stuff. You need to have it with as few and as true a caramel as you can get, because it's not going to melt otherwise. So there you go. So there's my plug for me.
The business has cinnamon bark. Could she use that?
She could get one of your graters and grate it down. Absolutely. I would grate it down versus putting a whole piece in. I don't know how a whole piece would really transfer that flavor, but I would I would grind it down. But if you're using that cinnamon bark, boy, gosh, I might only go like a half a teaspoon, because when you're getting like pure things like that, the flavor's like more pungent. It's a stronger flavor. So I would probably only go a half. All right, okay. We're gonna throw the caramel piece in here. All right. Brown sugar, we want to do a half a teaspoon. So here's the thing. I abhor all things sweet tea. My dad used to have some tea with his sugar. Kid you not, he'd have like a glass of tea. He'd have like 7, 8 tablespoons of sugar. Then he put some tea in there. So gross. He was brought up Southern, grew up Southern. We all were. I'm just not a sweet tea person. Brown sugar does not make your tea sweet. You're not even going to taste the sweetness. Okay. I'm going to sneeze. Got all these herbs here. No. All right. My half. Don't. Oh dear. All right. A half a teaspoon of the brown sugar. And then I want half a teaspoon of espresso powder. Now, if you find when you make this that it's too strong, you can go to a quarter teaspoon, but it's not going to pop the flavor. All right. And we grind our own, we roast our own espresso beans and we grind them because I don't like how other people do them. Oh, can you smell it? It smells so good. Doesn't the espresso powder smell good? What's up? All right. And that is it. So you're thinking, oh, how hard can tea be? All right, let's take a quick moment, shall we? My gosh, it's fall. It's fall. Yay, yum. Okay, all right. So you see this sheet, the blank sheet? This is where things become frustrating. Sorry, I have one key I've been working on. I'm on try number 59. I tried 2 more times the other day. I talked to Kelly. I was on 57. 59, still haven't figured out. I'm just frustrated. It is. Gosh darn it. So here's the thing. You can think of a flavor profile that you want. So let's say you had a lot of lemon balm because the girl is practically invasive. You had a lot of rosemary. You didn't pick it till the end of the season. You had a lot of lemon basil or maybe the pesto basil. So whatever you have a lot of and you've dried, those are combinations you can put together. You do need to know what kind of flavor profile you're shooting for. Don't name it. That's my problem. Every tea we've ever made, I'm thinking, okay, I want to make a fall tea. What brings to mind fall tea? So cinnamon, cloves, espresso, things like that. But you don't name it till you have it figured out because the flavor is going to tell you what the name is. My problem is I want a Christmas tea and I want to call it White Christmas. I know what it's supposed to taste like and I can't do it. 59 tries over 2 years. So I get irritated and I just walk away. Things like chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, do not go through this. So I have to come up with a tea that I can put in here that then people can dump in, kind of like a hot chocolate that can be melted in either water or milk and then have it all dissolve. Just sigh a lot. It's very sad thing. All right. So if you're wanting to figure out your flavor profile. So let's say I want to make something that tastes, trying to figure out what I want to do here. So you know what? That didn't sound bad. Lemon balm, rosemary, kind of a spring tea. But I'm really stressed right now, so I might throw some chamomile in there. Here's how this works. See this? I'm going to write down my ingredients. I always start with a half a tablespoon of the tea. So 1/2 TBS. WT stands for white tea. All right. So I know rosemary is really, really, really strong. So I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of rosemary. I have no idea what this is going to taste like. I don't have any idea. I'm going to do 5 leaves of lemon balm. And again, I'm stressed, so let's do chamomile. I don't like how it tastes though, so I'm only going to do a half a teaspoon of chamomile. You want to know how to spell it? Chamomile. All right, that's what I'm going to do. So I gave you all these extra ingredients. We do have 1 or 2 more teas we're going to put together, but I gave you all these extra ingredients for you to experiment. So if you're at home and you have different dry things, this is what you do. So this is my attempt, and I'm gonna write number 1 here. This is attempt number 1. I didn't number them 1, 2, 3 because you never get it done in 3. All right, so I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to heat it up. We're going to see how it tastes. The base I know is going to be fine. My first note, because I got my white tea base. But when I do the second part of it, is it going to taste watery? Is it going to be full flavored? I got to figure out how it tastes in my mouth. I got to have all parts of my mouth coated with flavor and no missing at all. No extra waterness anywhere. And then when I'm done, I need to just have a really good flavor left in my mouth, not just a flat, what was that? Why did I do it? Now, here's the thing about this. When it goes wrong, it's so simple. This is what you do. And I'm wasting, but just bear with me. This is what you do. And you start all over again. I know. So if you kept the caramel, or you didn't eat it, you didn't eat it, you could do like a caramel. What sounds good? Ooh, so I like calendula because it has a really good earthy kind of spice flavor. So I could do calendula hops because I want another version that's going to help me relax in the night, and I need to end the night on something sweet and lively. I could do a caramel hops, chamomile. I might throw the clove in there just for kicks and giggles to give it a little pop of flavor, and probably some brown sugar. If you find that you have a tea that keeps having this gap, add at least 1/4 teaspoon of brown sugar. I find that that tends to fill the spaces where you're missing flavor. Okay, do you have a question? Oh, okay, all right.
First, I wanted you to explain a little more about if brown sugar doesn't make the flavor sweet, what's it do?
It fills it, like say this is our bubble of tea, okay? And you think about, I'm trying to explain this so it makes sense. I'm not doing it for the sweetness. It literally fills in the gap of spaces where we're not getting that flavor filled. It's kind of like molasses, yes. So it just adds, it kind of smooths that flavor over and binds it all together. That's why I use it. I find if I get a tea that is just not clicking, I'll start with an 1/8, then I'll add 1/4 of brown sugar, and you'll start to see the difference. And all of a sudden, all of your flavors come together and they melt, and you're just like, that was it. So it just seems really strange because it's brown sugar, but it really, I don't make anything that has a sugar taste to it at all. I just don't do it. I'm not sure I would do brown sugar with the caramel. That's like a sugar on a sugar, so that might give you, that smack of sugar. So, but then if you like, sweet tea, then go for it. Absolutely, absolutely. Let's throw a couple more teas together because we do have some tea bags here. We have some for you to play with. Yeah, sure. I'm kind of curious how this other one might taste. Go ahead.
Discuss for those who find. So most importantly, is that Amy will be at the farmer's market on December 7th or 16th.
Yeah.
So that would probably be your easiest source. Invite you to come. We will talk a little bit later at the end of the class about why Amy's coming to the farmer's market. Yes, a sneak peek is there will be a special make and take class, but Amy will have, I hear maybe some chocolates there as well. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. Other supplies, I guess, access points in the Champaign area where you could find ingredients for high quality teas. You obviously could grow them yourself, and the Lane Connection produces a set of cards to help you grow very well. They're green instead of tan. We're happy to give those away for free. The Herb Society, so the Champaign-Urbana Herb Society hosts a magnificent sale spring where you can find everything
Love
to
that.
grow yourself. Buy those cards at the same time. We'll send this probably in a follow-up email. Some other things that Sarah and I have brainstormed while we've been sitting here. Homegrown has awesome supplies for bulk herbs, teas, all sorts of different things. We have several foraging farmers market booths like berries and flour where you can get both finished tea. And I bet if you asked, you might be able to get some ingredients from them. Obviously, our area around here is rich with some very interesting things. And then the last thing is, don't forget our friends at local brewing supply stores will have hops and some interesting additional ingredients that might not show up in traditional herb supply. So that's that for you, and I'm gonna toss it back to Amy. We will send out our kind of brainstormed ideas out in an email here. The make and take, again, we'll discuss that at the end of the class, but there's an announcement about it in the in the current newsletter from this week and next week. But that's at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. We'll send an announcement out by email as well. I don't want to take away too much time because we want to get back to the content, but we will wrap up with more details.
I will throw this out. We do a thing called Market Wagon. It started in Champaign. It's an online farmers market, and you can buy all of our supplies, herbs, or even the candy, but all of our herbs, fresh, dried, kits and things like that on that. Central Illinois, you have to order by Tuesday at midnight. I get a pick list on Wednesday, so I know what I need to deliver. I deliver it Thursday morning, and then they personally bring it to your house Thursday afternoon. It's kind of a quirky little thing. And believe it or not, it actually started way before COVID. So they're in Indianapolis, but they are all over the Midwest now. So,
All teas need to be crushed right before brewing.
yes. So we dry. Oh, let me step back. Okay, so if you're buying your supplies somewhere else, and absolutely do that. Support anybody local and everything else. I'm all about that. We dry whole leaf. We pack whole leaf. So why I say to crush them right before you do it is because you're going to crush, you're going to release those oils and that flavor. It's all sealed in. So if you weren't here back in July with us, so if you think of a leaf like this, as it dries, it shrinks down and it seals everything in there. Don't dehydrate. Do not cook them in the oven. It absolutely sucks out all the moisture, and it sucks out all the oils and all the goodness and the flavor. Just either hang them upside down and let them, till they dry. And, we have all of our eucalyptus right now hanging because it's a pain to pick off thing. Or you can just put it on trays and just let them sit and dry. Just kind of, turn them over every once in a while. Usually they'll dry within a week's time. Don't crush them until you're ready to use them. If you think about basil in the store and you open it up, it kind of has a basil scent. If you got our stuff here, when you open the pear peppermint, I guarantee you it knocked you back because it's fresh and we haven't even crushed it. Once you crush it, it just is like crazy ridiculous. So just keep that in mind. If they're fresh flowers, always crush them. If not, you're putting them in there. It's not going to be as strong a flavor, but it'll still be there a little bit. So I'm a big proponent of don't crush your herbs. Store them in a jar, full leaf. It'll take you more jars, but you'll be very happy you did. All right, okay. So I mixed up. So the one I was talking about, the white tea, rosemary, lemon balm, and chamomile, it's over here brewing. I have no idea how this is going to taste. And that's how it always starts. So I'm like, oh, this sounds really good. I want to make this. So my Thai basil that we're doing, the Thai basil, the orange, lemon balm, tangerine. I had orange, cinnamon, cloves, and a little bit of brown sugar. I'm trying to make our orange pico tea. So we're messing with it. It's not quite there. We got the orange, peel, the lemon peel. It's so close. And then of course we have our white Christmas, which I should have never named till I had it done. It is nowhere near. So let's make another tea real quick. All right. So let's do rosemary chamomile. Like I said, if you just do rosemary chamomile, you can absolutely do that. I gave you the stuff for it. It does. It's this ungodly, just horrible looking yellowness. Nobody wants to drink yellow tea. So let's do our half a tablespoon for our base. This is like one of the most simplest things on the planet. Love it, love it, love it. All right. And I'm sure when you open the chamomile, it was extremely potent. So you should do 1 teaspoon of it. I don't like it. It's so strong. Yuck, yuck. And then we have our rosemary. Now, with the rosemary, we usually do a tablespoon. I took some of mine, put it over here. So what I have left. So you want to do a tablespoon of the rosemary. Now, when you take it off, it was super, super potent. If you think by smelling that, breathing it in, it's going to be too potent, cut it back to a half a tablespoon. Okay. We do it with the tablespoon and the teaspoon of chamomile for our rosemary chamomile tea. We grow this particular variety of rosemary specifically for the tea. So I'm going to toss the rest of mine in there. Again, super simple, pull closed, you're done. It's awesome when you figure out the recipe because then you can just, whip them out. But until then, it's kind of sad and not fun. All right, so I'm going to try this real quick. I'm kind of curious where this happened, where we got with this. I'm going to do it so you can see when I squeeze it out, what comes out of it. It's got a weird smell. So remember that first note I said, what does it smell like? It's going to lead you to be what it tastes like. I'm not liking this. I don't like this at all. What was this? Rosemary, lemon balm, and chamomile. I don't like it. I don't like it. This is not going to be good. It'll be so bad. All right. It's just not cool. It's not good. And it's very watery. No, don't do that combination at all. No. Yeah, that was awful. Oh, yeah. Again, remember, this is what we do right here. Whee! Awesome blossom. There we go. All right. So I would encourage you to make your own teas. There is no reason why you can't make your own teas. I do get my white tea from a grower in Georgia, but he sells on Amazon. So we usually he will send me I get about 15 pounds of tea. They come in 3-pound boxes. So we get these. See, this went a long way. We made quite a few teas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I still have quite a bit of tea left. This tea goes a long, long, long ways. So just get like a 3-pound box. He has a 3-pound box out there. Don't tell me. I don't have to his name. You'll find it on there. That's where you can get your base from. But if you want to go back and you want to try these other teas, just keep in mind, like if you're doing the green tea here, keep in mind it's already has some fermenting to it. So what you add, it's going to have to be a lot to overpower the green tea flavor. Now, if you're doing things like chai seeds and things like that, because green tea is really good for like a chai tea, that will enhance it. You just have to kind of think about how flavors go together when you're eating Asian food. What spices do they use? So like a 5-spice, what is that called? Is it 5-spice? The 5-spice mixture, that would be really good with the green tea or the waka tea. That'd be really good. See, there. Now something to try there. No, I stick with white tea. Why make things complicated? My life is complicated enough. We don't need to complicate it more. All right. So if you have the kit, there's enough here to make 5 or 6 different teas for you to try. If you just want to stick with one, that's fine. If not, you can kind of mix it up if you want to do that. But I encourage you to try to make your own tea. And you're going to fail, don't be upset that you are like, why am I doing this? I can't get it right. Again, I won its 59 tries. Some of them took us, 10, 12, 13 tries. A couple of them, rosemary chamomile is kind of a no-brainer. Just had to figure out how much of each. It was like a 5 try. Once you find the one you like, then you can go ahead and buy it in bulk, and it's significantly cheaper than buying it from somewhere else. If you grow it yourself, you know where your product came from, and it's just a much better tea all around. So if I leave you with nothing else, do that. So I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry there are recipes, but you kind of get it now. You just have to kind of play with it and make your own, and what your flavor profile is.